And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 307 Baseball Podcast State Tournament Preview Show. I'm Elan Olliff, joined by Dennis Bedwell, and of course, voice of the Gillette Rough Riders and good friend of the show, Mr. Chris Brentel. And boys, we're here to break down the state tournament, as it is going to be a good one. And I got a feeling it's going to be one of the more competitive ones that we've seen in quite a while.
100%. Like, there's so many teams at the state tournament that have a legit chance to get a couple of upsets and win the whole dang thing. And it's because there's a lot of really good starting pitchers at state. And I think it's going to be very interesting. You know, what do teams do when they go up against a team like Cheyenne? What do teams do when they go up against a team like Laramie or Sheridan or Gillette? It's crazy. Plus, Casper's that 5th seed. They're a team that's primed and ready for an upset. Why? Because they can hit the baseball.
And we'll talk more about the matchups coming up, but there are definitely some matchups that I feel are going to be very, very fun to watch. It's going to be like trying to fall asleep on Christmas Eve for me, Chris. And Dennis, this is your first time, first job really here with MyLocalRadio.com, and you get a state championship baseball tournament. Right. How lucky are you feeling, and how excited are you to see some great baseball this week?
You know, it's definitely like Christmas for sure for me. So I actually watched a little bit, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. Evanston played, and they played really well. They had two great games. So, yeah, I'm excited to watch some good baseball this week and learn some new stuff as well. So,
got to address the monkey in the room, and that would be Chris Brentel, rocking the shades. No, he's not trying to be your favorite World Series of Poker celebrity. You went on a journey to improve your eyesight, I believe is how that went, right?
I had some LASIK surgery. My poor wife had to take care of me a couple of days. I guess I was a little grumpy. Sorry, baby. Sorry about that. But anyway, I'm getting better now, but the light still kind of bugs me. So, yeah. Now, I'm not hungover, I promise, okay? I didn't take any illegal substances. I just have the sunglasses, and I have LASIK. At least that's what we have to say on this program.
Oh, my gosh. And Chris Brentel is back. We had some great times with him at the state tournament last year. You know we're going to have some great times with him tonight and throughout the state tournament this year. This is the state preview show. I want to remind you that every game of the 2022 AA state tournament is going to be live on mylocalradio.com. It all starts tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. with the Allstate The Jones Agency pregame show as the Evanston Outlaws, the number 8 seed, take on the top seed Cheyenne Sixers. First pitch scheduled for 10 o'clock. We'll go more through the brackets. We've got a great show for you. Tons of the AA coaches are coming by. I think 7 of the 8 said that they were going to try to be there. They're currently in a coaches meeting right now down at Ryder Thorne Stadium here in Sheridan. But they're going to be coming in when they get a chance, and we're going to get a chance to talk with them about their teams. Tons of storylines, tons of interviews, and a lot of great stuff here on the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament Preview. We'll be right back after this from our sponsors at Buckle Up for Life Wyoming.
I'm Kendall Roberts with the Wyoming Seatbelt Coalition. Whether your car is a classic car or a new one, buckle up every time. Buckle Up for Life, Wyoming.
And we welcome you back to the 307 Baseball State Tournament Preview Show, live from the Comfort Inn here in Sheridan. And before we get started, let's go ahead and talk about the brackets. Let's start with our friends over at the Single A, over at Cody. They're taking place at the same time as the rest of the AA tournament. So they're actually starting tomorrow. It'll be at 10 a.m. Powell versus Cheyenne. Then at 1 o'clock, Sheridan versus Level. Then Casper takes on Green River at 4 o'clock. Cody versus Torrington under the lights at 7 o'clock there in Cody. And we will have David Settle on a little bit later on in the show to talk about the the Single A tournament. Right now, the AA tournament is one that we're kind of all covering and we know very, very well. So let's go ahead and dive in to that AA bracket. It all starts again tomorrow. Evanston takes on Cheyenne. Number 1, Post 6 taking on the Outlaws. 10 a.m. And then at 1 o'clock, Laramie, number 3, takes on Jackson at 1 o'clock. 4 o'clock, Rock Springs Stallions, the number 7 seed, takes on the number 2 Gillette Riders. And it all ends with a huge matchup, 4 versus 5, Casper versus the home team, Sheridan Rough Riders. Chris, you look at this bracket and just kind of give me some insights and some impressions there.
I think it's very interesting here. You have Jackson, okay, going up against Laramie. Why, Chris? Why is that interesting? Well, that would be because Jackson always plays well at state. And so are they primed and ready for an upset? And let's think about this for a second. If you're Laramie, who are you pitching? So you're facing a team that has created so many upsets at the state tournament. So who do you throw out there? And I think that the pitching matchups is what's going to make or break these teams. And that's also what makes Cheyenne so dangerous, is because they have the horses in the stable, if you will. They have a ton of depth pitching-wise. But see, that matchup is key in my eyes. Don't sleep on Jackson. The other matchup that's key in my eyes, don't sleep on Casper against Sheridan, because if you're Sheridan, how do you handle Casper? Who are you going to throw out there? Sheridan has some really good pitchers, but do they have the depth of arms where they can throw out there a fourth guy to try to win that round one game, or even a third guy to try to win that round one game? And you can say the same thing for Gillette too. Gillette's going against Rock Springs, but the next day, whether you play Jackson or Laramie, who are you going to throw?
And really, Sheridan is one of those teams that can really pull off something crazy here at the 2022 state tournament. But you have to add to that list Laramie. You have to add to that list Gillette. Casper is someone that could get going. Evanston, we've seen them when they get hot, they can play really, really well. It really does feel like anyone's game. And it's all going to come down to it feels like in this game more than anything, that's where the anything can happen thing can kind of come in.
For sure. And these round one matchups are really huge, because if you're a Laramie team and you avoid that upset in round one, or you're Sheridan, you avoid that upset, these kids are legit, and the coaches are going to think, hey, we can do this thing. You lose that game, man, it is a uphill battle. You cannot lose early in this tournament. Too many teams have too much firepower, especially at the plate.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and talk about that firepower. We've got our regular season end of stats, and just to kind of give you a disclaimer here, with the stats we compiled are from conference games only. We figured that was the only way to kind of let it be an even playing field, so to speak. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go into our stats. Right now, we'll start out with hits. And as you can see, Jason Fink leads the state in conference-only games, but that is kind of, again, a even playing field. Fink with 37 hits from Gillette. And then, of course, on there you've got, I'm looking at, that's a set at strikeouts. Not sure why that is.
We'll just fix
second.
that.
Yeah, we'll just go.
No big deal. Yeah, this isn't live, right? Wait, it is? Oh.
Sorry, there it is. Hits
Just
Coulter
smile at the camera.
McAnally. Coulter McAnally and Jason Fink tie at the top of the leaderboard, 24 conference hits. Caden Steele also tied at the top with 24 from the hometown team Sheridan. Caden Wilcox from Casper is there, as you can see. Cohen Morrow also there at 21. Ethan Garner, Ben Ruckman, Trayson Costiel, Billy Jenkins, Trevor Stowe, Cody Kilpatrick. These are all very, very big names in the AA.
Interesting right here. Okay, I just said Jackson primed and ready for an upset, right? Look at that list.
Yep, a lot.
The two biggest reasons is that 1-2 punch, Costiel and Gardner. Yeah. And those numbers are for conference only, but folks, I know their stats for the whole year. They're big-time hitters. Those two get hot, that's tough for anybody to deal with. I don't care who you are.
It's also one of those things where, again, it's conference only, but this is the conference. These are the teams that they're playing against. This is the teams that they are playing in the tournament. So it does feel rather, I guess you would say, accurate. Let's go ahead and move on to batting average. We came up with a roll 35 at-bats minimum. Coulter McAnally with a whopping 545 for Cheyenne. Cohen Morrow from Evanston, the youngster, only a sophomore, 525. And then you got Billy Jenkins from Laramie, Caden Steele, Jason Fink making another appearance, Caden Wilcox from Casper, and as you can see, Diego Medina, Ben Ruckman, Riley Hogsett, Ethan Gartner, Bryce Laughlin. If there was an all-star team for the AA, you would imagine every single one of these boys would be on it.
100%. And I call this to me the X factor in this tournament, the 1-2.
Yep.
It's the 1-2 punch. So let's take a look here. Let's look right here. Jason Fink, 1-2 punch. Corey Schilling. They're back-to-back in the lineup.
Yep.
Who wants to go against Coulter McAnally and Zach Kostopoulos?
Yeah,
because I don't.
That's
right?
another thing.
1-2 punch.
That's another thing we need to mention is that there are plenty of great ball players that don't quite crack the top 10 in our conference only stats. We'll talk about it more at home runs, but you talk about 1-2 punch. How about this? Diego Medina 457, Ben Ruckman and Riley Hogsett 452, both for the Laramie Rangers.
And add Chavez in there.
Yeah, and Chavez out there with 486.
And to me,
Jenkins out there with 486.
Yeah, so these lineups are really tough. And here's the thing: who's going to get hot?
Yep.
It's always going to be that 1-2 punch, maybe that 1-2-3 punch. Those guys that get hot at the plate, that's who determines who wins state usually. Now, and then the 1-2 punch, you have to look at also at the mound. Let's take a look at Cheyenne as Ty Lane just walks through the doors here at the Comfort.
Here he comes.
You got to take a look at Cheyenne, McAnally, Feezer. Now, they have other dudes behind them, but that 1-2 punch is going to be key. For Gillette to have a legit shot, I mean, Fink and Leighton Holden, they have to show up at the tournament, have a couple of good starts.
Absolutely. And let's go ahead and before we bring in Coach Lane, let's look at the rest of our regular season and the regular season stats. Again, conference only. We figured that was the only way to kind of make it even. But when you look at the stats, it's very impressive. Home runs, Trayson Costile from Jackson with 3, Coulter McAnally, Billy Jinkin, and Ben Ruckman. The latter 2, both from Laramie. We talked about that 1-2 punch, each with 2 home runs in conference games.
The power game could come into effect here in Sheridan.
You look at
especially, I will say this, extra base hits, because you can hit some off that monster in the left. They have a monster in center. You might see a ton of balls carry them off that wall. You probably are going to see a lot of extra base hits. And I think a key little stat that we don't look at often is who has the most extra base hits.
Absolutely. Top RBI hitters, Jason Fink with 22, Caden Wilcox 20, Coulter McAnally 19. Again, this is conference only. It was the only way we could kind of level things out because of the disparity between how many games some teams play compared to others. Trevor Stowe at 17, Grant Nipper 17. I saw 4 of them myself when he hit a grand slam over the left field wall at Ross Kesterson Field. Absolutely fantastic day for him that day. Ben Ruckman 16, Corey Schilling 16, Dom Lopez at 16, and then Brandon Chavez rounding out the top 10 with 14. Let's move on to the pitchers.
There's some tough lists we got here.
I know, right?
Man,
Let's
oh man.
move on to the pitchers. In conference games, minimum of 15 innings pitched, Jason Fink in 28 1/3 innings pitched, a 0.49 ERA. Coulter McAnally right on his heels with a .93. You also got Brendan Mortensen and Brandon Chavez with a sub-2. Laramie with the 1-2 punch with Mason Branch at .392. And now our final stats, strikeout leaders, Jason Fink and Brendan Mortensen from Sheridan, 37 apiece, Chavez at 36, McAnally 34. It'll be very interesting to keep track of that number throughout the state tournament to see who ends the season with the most strikeouts. It's going to be fun as we get ready to bring in Mr. Ty Lane after this break, brought to you by Buckle Up for Life Wyoming.
The car just started to spin. I could feel the top of the truck hit my head. I could feel the seatbelt hold me in place, and I knew it was doing its job. And I was so thankful for those seatbelts because they held us in. We did not go through that windshield. We did not go out that door. When it spun and flipped, we remained in that vehicle. The most glorious moment of my life ever was to open my eyes and see her face.
I like to believe the seatbelt is what saved my mom and I's life, and I just don't understand why somebody wouldn't just take the 3 seconds to just make that small decision to click it. Ever since I came home from the hospital, they put me in a seatbelt, and even now as a new driver, I still remember always to put my seatbelt on.
It's such a simple action that you can do that can completely change the course of your life forever. We are the Braley family, and we're alive because we buckled up.
Buckle up for Life Wyoming.
Welcome back to the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament Preview live from Sheridan at the Comfort Inn. Elan Olliff here with Chris Brenzel. We have Dennis Bedwell who's stepping aside for a minute as we bring in the manager of the reigning state champion, Cheyenne Sixers. Ty, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for inviting me and having me over here. Appreciate all the coverage you guys give to these guys, and just makes our game even more fun, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Coach, you were sitting over there when we were going through our top 10 lists of the conference-only stats, and a lot of your players were there, but a lot of players that you guys have seen, Brandon Chavez, Brendan Mortensen, and we've talked a little bit off the air. We both feel like this is the best state that Wyoming baseball has ever been because of the top talent that we've seen just kind of come through this year. Would you?
Yeah, totally. Totally would agree with that, and just listening to your list, thinking about, man, there's so many good players here. And, it's deep. Every team has, a good core of guys that can really compete at a high level. And a lot of good players playing baseball in Wyoming. So it makes our tournament more fun, and it's going to be really competitive and a battle to the end for sure.
Coach,
I was just thinking about this. Usually there's an upset on day one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to me, there's a couple of games. As a coach that has won so many championships, how do you get your team ready for that first day? Because, they're kids. Their kids are going into it like, oh, we're the 1 seed, they're the 8 seed. How do you keep them focused?
Well, I don't know that we've really mastered that at any level. I remember last year against Rock Springs, we were in a 1 or 2 run ball game deep into that game.
Yep.
And, what you're going to get, even if you're a 1 seed, whoever you're playing, middle seeds, you're going to get a good arm on day one because it's so important to start the tournament with a victory. And, we got Rock Springs ace last year, and he kept him right in the game and gave him a great chance to win. So, really it's about your guys understanding that, you're going to get the best shot that the other team has. And if we don't come ready to bring it, anybody can win on any given day in playoff baseball. So it's really important to try to get that first win and, just understand that day one is one of the most difficult days to win in the tournament.
Coach, one thing that stands out about Cheyenne Post 6 is just their depth of pitching. Last year we were talking all about Bradley Feeser. This year we're talking about Coulter McAnally being one of the best pitchers in the state. I got a chance to see one of your newer guys, Wyatt Hott, in person. He's definitely knocking on the door. What is it about the Cheyenne Post 6 staff that just continues to develop flamethrower after flamethrower after flamethrower?
Well, first of all, the work that these guys put in the off season and the things that they're doing from the time that our season ends to when we pick back up. We got a lot of kids that really enjoy the game and have worked extremely hard to try to make themselves the best player they can be. But it helps to have a lot of kids in our community playing baseball, and that's kind of been built by Tag Lane and just creating the culture of baseball in our town. And we've got a lot of people trying to help create good baseball players all the way from age 8 all the way through to high school guys. So understanding what it takes to be successful as a pitcher. Obviously everyone knows you got to throw a bunch of strikes. You can't walk anybody. You got to let the defense play and defend. And as our guys get comfortable filling up the strike zone, then we build some arm strength as they go throughout the career.
All right, am I wrong here? I believe
Probably.
the only yeah, you sound like my wife now. Am I wrong here? But I feel like the only team that has beaten you guys this year in the state is at Laramie.
That's right.
And
Yep.
that's the other. No one else has, but the only team, and they've done it twice, one conference game. So like a Laramie team, they're coming in and they're like, "Hey, we can beat these Cheyenne guys." Because let's be real. I'll say it. You guys are the clear favorites to win it. Let's be honest. But what is it about Laramie that makes them tough as well? And I know you guys have beat them a lot too. So
Yeah, they're really good. Right now,
as they walk in the door.
Yeah, there's Laramie right now.
they're locked in right now. I could tell you that. We've seen them a couple times over the last couple of weeks. First of all, you start. To me, one thing that's a game changer between Laramie this year and Laramie last year is you go to their infield defense. And, the last time we played them, we had them loaded. Third baseman made a diving play, came up and threw the guy out at first, ended an inning there. Their shortstop went behind the bag, hog set, made 3 plays up the middle, taking hits away. And then you go to their offensive side, and, Ruckman right now is as hot as you can possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
He's really seeing it well and swinging it great. Chavez has had some power coming to him here late in the year. He hit a couple home runs with Wood in the Pando tournament. And, all the guys, Jenkins put some great swings on it. Medina, they're really up and down the lineup. They're putting together quality at-bats, really competitive at-bats. And, if you're really defending the field well and putting competitive at-bats together, that's a recipe for success, and they're playing well.
Coach, you've won Manager of the Year many times, multiple times. If you were to pick a Manager of the Year this year, of course not yourself, but if you were to pick one that has kind of stood out to you, impressed you with the job that they've done this year, who would that be?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's, I think, a lot of coaches that are deserving of that award this year. I would probably say the one that sticks out for me is Nate Purleyberg, with the job that he's done with such a young group, to get his team in position to be playing for the number 1 seed at the state tournament on the last week of the year. Hats off to him. He's doing it with a 9th grade center fielder and 8th grade shortstop.
That's
and,
scary.
He's doing it with some younger arms as well, and they're playing extremely well also. So, Nate's done a great job. Ben, I think, did a fantastic job with the Sheridan team this year. And, Aaron Lozano's got his team playing really well. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that are very deserving this year.
These kids here are lucky with all the great coaching staff.
Oh, my gosh.
In the state. Like, it's incredible. Wyoming's in a good spot right now with all these great coaches.
Absolutely. I mean, and of course, you've also got Rocky Rondinelli from Rock Springs. He just kind of oozes that baseball enthusiasm. Nick Small's got a very, very young, but the sky's the limit with that group over in Evanston. And then, of course, Jason Huggins, who just knows how to play in the big games. We talked about it earlier, and we're going to hear from him later on. Kind of a similar question. Who's the non-Cheyenne player of the year? Who's been kind of the guy that stuck out to you the most this year?
Oh, that's a good question. I might have some bias because we see Laramie so much, but just the way that Ben Ruckman has played up to this point in the year, I think he has 9 home runs maybe on the season. He is a really tough out at the dish, but he also does it defensively in center field. He can really track baseballs. And then I saw him come in and close a game, and he's mid to upper 80s from the left side on the mound as well. And so he's really doing it in every phase. And I've just been, I have a lot of respect for Ben Ruckman, and if we end up playing Laramie, we're going to try to do everything we can to make sure that he's not the one to beat us. So, I would have to go with Ben probably.
And now that the regular season is over, the season's not over, but it was the first time we've done this. Everybody is in one conference. You travel to Evanston and Rock Springs for conference games for the first time. Now that that's kind of in the rear view, what are your kind of thoughts now, having gone through that travel schedule for conference games?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is I think it makes baseball in Wyoming better, just because everybody's going to get to play everybody. So, there is more travel involved and a lot of conference games that you wouldn't normally schedule. So it's some added games to the schedule. But to me, I think that feels worth it for you to be able to see every team play, and it's going to give everybody an opportunity to play to play the top teams, play the bottom teams, get everybody around everyone. And in my mind, that just makes the game better for our state. And the goal is for our state. I think our state has the ability to be as good as any Legion state in the country, and I think we've improved on every year that I've been here. It's gotten better and better, and I think we just keep trending in the right direction.
Coach, having been to some of these places for the first time to play some games, were there any ballparks that you got to experience for the first time and kind of look around and be like, hey, this is pretty nice, I want to come back here?
Yeah, I have seen them all at some point, but it was good to see, like Evanston. I hadn't been to Evanston in quite a while, probably since, early in my coaching career as an assistant probably was the last time I was there. And, it's cool to get to see every place, but not just the field, but stay in their hotels, be a part of their community a little bit, and get a feel for every part of the state, and that was fun.
That's Coach Ty Lane. He is the manager of the number 1 ranked Cheyenne Post 6 Sixers. Coach Lane, thank you so much for coming out and joining us on the show. Hopefully we can make this a yearly thing. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you guys again for having me. Appreciate
it.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
When we come back, we're going to have Laramie coach Aaron Lozano. This is the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament Preview Show, live on mylocalradio.com.
I'm Officer Kevin Malatesta, Public Information Officer for the Cheyenne Police Department. Cheyenne Police Department, for the May mobilization, is really looking for people who aren't seatbelted in their cars. It's a secondary violation in Wyoming, but as we make traffic stops for speeding, cell phones, whatever it may be, we're going to be looking to make sure that people have their seatbelts on. As we've gone over, seatbelts do save lives, and way too many people in Wyoming aren't wearing them. We want to make sure that people get home safely, get to see their families again. So if they're involved in a car accident and that seatbelt is on, there's a much higher likelihood of that person making it through that accident, making it through without injuries even. When we have crashes without seatbelts, the consequences are much more severe.
Welcome back to the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament Preview Show. Joined now by Laramie manager, the always nice, always fun to talk to, Mr. Aaron Lozano. And Coach Lozano, thank you so much for coming out to take the time to speak to us. And first question, I mean, what are you thinking about being here in Sheridan for a state tournament? I know it's been a while since they've hosted the AA one.
Yeah, I think the last time they did, Laramie went 2-0. So we're here to right the ship, right? we're not going to let that happen again. So, yeah, I love coming up here. I love the grandstand here. I always feel like, or I pretend anyway, right? Like I'm in the natural, and like one of my guys is going to break the lights or something. That's what I go for. So
I gotta say, I'm getting some Bobby Valentine when he snuck back into the dugout vibes here with the new facial hair.
Yeah, it's every year I do something goofy for state tournament, just try to keep the guys lightened up. And this year I actually took a photo of Don Mattingly into the barbers and said, "Make me look like this." So did that, and here I am.
Awesome. Speaking of lighting it up, you guys are lighting it up at the plate right now. You're getting hot at the right time offensively. What do you attribute that to?
I think a lot of it's experience with a lot of these veteran guys on the roster. They've been there and done that. And I think, the last couple of years, we kind of limped into the state tournament, which I think I'm stealing that line from you from the podcast last year. So, but I totally agree, right? It was like we were coming in like on 6-game losing streak or whatever. And I think, the guys, so they know how that happens, right? So they made adjustments in the way they practiced, their approaches at the plate. And, I really like where we're sitting offensively right now for sure.
Coach, you look at this tournament and you look at teams, and this feels – it feels like it's going to be a dogfight for that state title, and it feels like it's going to be probably one of the best state tournaments we've seen in a long time. Of course, Cheyenne, is the favorite, but you guys have Brendan Chavez, who has beaten them before. Brendan Mortensen out of Sheridan is throwing absolute gas right now. Is it the same feeling amongst the players and the coaches around the state that this is going to be a fun week?
Yeah, absolutely. When we walked in for the coaches and players barbecue tonight, and you see all the Sheridan seniors, it's like, yeah, these guys are experienced too, right? They're losing as many guys as I am, or maybe more, right? So there's a lot of good ball players out there, and a lot of these guys have played against each other for 5-6 years, right? And it's kind of fun to see like the friendly rivalries take shape. And Brandon Chavez and Jason Fink were going at it on the cornhole board tonight. And this isn't the last time we'll see each other on this field. So
that's good.
It's.
I want that matchup so bad.
Me too.
A lot of good players out there. I think you're absolutely right. It's going to be a dogfight. You look at 1 through 8. Everybody's done something that surprised everybody this year. You got a lot of teams that can hit the ball, and I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm almost like I'm gonna take the bus down and just watch all the games. I'll come back and get the guys.
There you go, man.
But I want to watch some games for sure. So
that's a great reminder. You can catch every game of the 2022 AA State Tournament on mylocalradio.com starting at 10 a.m. We'll be watching every game right there with you. I've got so many exciting matchups I'm excited for. Of course, your rematch with Jackson from the first round last year was under the lights. You guys were home. That one went right down to the wire. Yeah. Are you guys expecting something very similar?
Yeah, we definitely are. Jason's a veteran coach. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. A guy that we have a lot of respect for, and talking through pitching matchups and stuff. It's like you kind of are like, what about this guy? Well, Jason will be ready for that. Well, what about this guy? It's the same thing, right? So, you start playing that game of chess as you come up, but. That's definitely where our focus lies, is on that Jackson game, and knowing that Jason always comes to state tournament ready to roll. Gave us a heck of a game last year. I think this is actually 4 of the last 5 years we've opened with Jackson.
Wow.
So that seems to be our first round matchup, and so hoping that we can continue the success we had at the end of the season into that first game of the tournament.
I got to say that first off, real quick, not to change gears, but the barbecue. We got the burgers, and they did a great job at Sheridan with the barbecue. They also did make me put my shirt on. I didn't care for that, but that's okay. That's all right. Let's talk about this Jackson matchup real quick, because Jackson's a team that's gotten a lot of upsets at state. They have a 1-2 punch in there. They have Gardner and Castile. What do you tell your dudes, your pitchers, on how to deal with a 1-2 punch like that?
Yeah, those guys are great examples of that. And, basically for us, it's we want the ball in play. But if you leave it up in the zone, right, I think Castile, when they were in Laramie last week, went like 6 for 7 with 4 doubles or something like that, right? So that's what happens if you leave the ball up.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty decent day, right? Yeah. So, we definitely are wanting to be in the zone but living low in the zone, right? And then from there, just trying to keep hitters off balance, right? So establish yourself with the fastball, come back with your secondary stuff, keep them guessing.
Coach, is it at all tempting to kind of, since this is a double elimination tournament, not like other sports where it's you have to win the next game to advance, there is a way back to the state championship if you lose. Is it at all tempting to manage with the next game in mind, thinking about pitching matchups?
Actually, I think you almost have to, right? Because, on day one, right, you're looking at, for sure who the possible foes the next day are, right? And so knowing that going in, so for us, it would be either Gillette or Rock Springs, right? And so for us, it's like, okay, well, we know what we've got that works against Rock Springs, and this year we don't know that we have anything that works against Gillette, right? But we know who our guys are, and we know who our horses are, and so that's definitely a consideration for that as well.
Coach, it's been really fun to get to talk to you, and I gotta say, my first state tournament was that one in Laramie last year, and I will never forget just kind of the environment you and your team and your people put on. That was a great experience. I'm hoping that we have something similar here in Sheridan. How much more challenging do you think it's going to be to potentially make a run to that state championship game, not being in your own beds, not being in familiar territory?
Yeah, I think that's a huge consideration, and I feel like if anything, we've kind of prepared for that, even if it was maybe unwittingly. We've been kind of road warriors this year. We were in Bozeman, we were in Omaha, we were in Rapid City. We've been kind of all over the region, and I think that the guys are conditioned for that environment, and so we're hoping that what we see is similar to what we saw down in Fort Collins last week, which is another one where even though we were in our beds every night, it's 4 days of driving 120 miles back and forth. And, so I feel like this team is as prepared for that as you can be because we have been road warriors this year.
That's Coach Aaron Lozano, manager of the Laramie Rangers. Coach, thank you so much for coming out. It's always a pleasure. Super excited to maybe have some more interviews with you as this week goes on.
Yeah,
Good luck tomorrow. Thank you so much. Anything else?
Yeah, just thanks for doing this. I think you guys hear this a lot, but it's a genuine appreciation of what you guys are doing for baseball in the state of Wyoming and for the kids, and that's what the focus is on these kids. And then, I always get a little nervous when Rocky walks in the room.
I know.
So I'm glad
there's no
done.
bigger personality in the state than Rocky Rondinelli, and we will have him when we come back after this on the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament Preview live on mylocalradio.com.
From one corner of the state to the other, over 82% of Wyomingites wear their seatbelts. And to the 18% who don't, we say, let's buckle up for life, Wyoming.
We've got a special segment coming up for you. We're going to have Coach Rocky Rondinelli and Coach Nick Small, Evanston and Rock Springs. The Southwest will be represented here on the 2022 State Tournament Preview Show live from the Comfort Inn here in Sheridan. We'll have that when we come back after this on on the 2022 307 Baseball State Tournament Preview live on mylocalradio.com.
I buckle up because there's been too many fatalities around our house where somebody would have survived if they'd been wearing their seatbelt.
I definitely wear my seatbelt to keep him safe.
I wear it just for safety.
I buckle up because my mom makes me.
I buckle up to set a good example for my kids and to make sure they stay safe.
Getting home safe to my family.
I buckle up because it keeps me safe.
Go Pokes, buckle up!
Buckle up for life, Wyoming.
Welcome back to the 2022 307 Baseball State Tournament Preview, live here at the Comfort Inn in Sheridan. A big thank you to those guys for accommodating us this week. Joining us now, we have the manager of the Rock Springs Stallions, as well as the manager of the Evanston Outlaw, the Southwest being represented. We have Rocky Rondinelli and Nick Small. Gentlemen, how are you guys today?
Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Doing good. Always a pleasure. And these are the two guys I talk to the most. And first question, how are you guys feeling about being here in Sheridan, finally here at the state tournament?
Oh, we're here. We got to go do work now.
Coach Small, you guys have Cheyenne in the first round. First game against Cheyenne. You guys actually played really, really tough with them, played with them. What's it going to take to kind of capture that magic tomorrow morning?
We got to play 7 full innings. We've been a team that puts 1-2 innings together a game. If we put 7 full innings together defensively, score a few runs, let the outcome have it.
Coach Rondinelli, Rock Springs having a bit of a breakout year this year. You guys will take on Gillette in game number 1 of your guys' state tournament journey. Maddox Ice and Hudson Garner all standing out in our end of regular season stats report. And just talk about those two guys, your senior leaders that have just kind of been working with this program and are finally starting to see some rewards there.
Oh, I mean, those two kids, Huddy's been my captain since he was 8 years old. Honestly, I've had him for 10 years. Maddox, this is the first year that I've actually got to coach Maddox, and he's only 15. Huddy will be a senior this year. Maddox is going to be a sophomore. And then throw in the other two kids that have really helped and stood out, and Andrew and Jaden Hunt. Those 4 kids have done some amazing things with this year. I mean, it's been a struggle for us because we're so inexperienced and so young. But they're starting to do some things.
Last year you guys had Cheyenne Post 6 kind of on the ropes in that first game. What is it about these kids, for both of you, what is it about these kids when they get to the playoffs? Of course, Coach Small, your boys in the C-Team tournament made a run all the way to the championship game last year. What is it about these kids that kind of turn on when we hit postseason time?
I'd say they're gamers, they're competitors. They step up and they don't want to fail, so they're out there giving it their all, and this is the time to shine, and I feel like we have a group that wants to be at the end of it.
That's well said, Nick. I couldn't agree more. I think you get to this point where you've got to take on that mentality of, why not us, right? You get out there and everybody counts you out, so go out there and give it everything you got. I mean, last year I think we played extremely well, but it was all because of Dylan Johnson on the mound.
He was amazing that day.
That kid has been a horse for me forever. He aged out, so that part sucks. But when you got a dude that wants the ball in those situations, you go ahead and hand it to him, and whatever happens. I mean, he pitched his tail off. We had him in as 0-0 going into the 5th. Third time through the lineup. That lineup's so potent, they started finally hitting the ball. When I took him out, he only threw 69 pitches or something like that. I mean, he was awesome, but they were starting them outs were starting to get loud. So, it happened how it happened. But yeah, I mean, this time of year, it's not on paper, right? You still got to go out there and you still got to play the game. So if you play the game the right way, good things will happen to you.
It's really fitting that we have both of you two sitting here because Evanston and Rock Springs really share a relationship that I feel like is very unique to the state. At 10 a.m. when Evanston plays, I know the Rock Springs boys are going to want to be in the stands rooting them on. And then later on in the day when Rock Springs is on the diamond, Coach Small, you and your boys are going to be there supporting them. What is it about this kind of Southwest alliance that you guys kind of draw strength from each other? How does that work? I mean, it's not something you see in sports very much.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, we talked about it that one interview when Nick was down at our place. It's the kids get along so well. I mean, we just came from up at the stadium, and after the boys got done eating, they all sat together while they were eating, and then they're out in right field playing wiffle ball.
Love it.
And the teams are mixed, and it's just they get along so well. And it's not just baseball. I mean, they talk all the time. They their Snapchat buddies, as the kids do these days, and everything. It's just really cool. And then, I've known Nick for quite a few years. This is the first time he's been up at this level, but I have the utmost respect for Nick and what he's done. And I mean, we're just pals. I mean, I think, and it's not just this relationship is unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we're all like that.
Yeah.
And not so much. I mean, we're so close, and the kids are so close to each other. But I mean, with Ben, with Huggy, with Ty, with Nate, Lozano, of course. I mean, it's a really good group that we have. Have been together for a long time, So, but this one it's just really cool to have these kids be so close as they are.
Yeah, as Rocky said, we wouldn't be here if it was their choice. They'd still be playing wiffle ball. So we had to steal the ball from them to say, we got things to go do. So those two teams were going to be playing until the sun went down, I'm sure of it. And as Rocky alluded, these kids are all friends. There's going to be a handful of them playing fall ball together this summer. There's going to be 3 or 4 Rock Springs kids and 3 or 4 Evanston kids. So it's going to be a mixture of kids going and playing a little fall ball this year. So that'll be cool to see. Without me or Rocky coaching them, they're just going to go play baseball, and that's good to see.
All right, now I got to ask you guys each one more question, and it's kind of a unfair put you on the spot type question, but I promise it's not too bad. You guys have seen each other so much, and we asked Coach Lane a very similar question about a team that they've seen very much. To you, who is the player on the other team? So for you, Rocky, Evanston, and for you, Nick, Rock Springs, who's the player on the other team that really kind of impressed you this season?
I'll go with Rocky's captain, Hudson Gardner. The kid was a gamer. I mean, we've seen him on the mound 2 or 3 times this year, and the first time he shut us out, it was a 5-0 ball game. He threw lights out on us, and then his just demeanor behind the plate as a catcher and stuff, he really leads their team, and that's a kid you want. That's the type of kid you want on your team.
For me, and there's so many, but I think for me, it's Gavin Oliver at the top of the lineup. I think that team goes as Gavin goes, especially hitting the ball, right? I mean, the kid almost threw a perfect game against us. But I mean, like I said,
coach wouldn't have pulled him.
I mean,
I wasn't going to say anything, Nick. I promise.
There's so many kids that you could choose from. But I mean, I think he's right with Huddy. But with Gavin at the top of that order, I mean, you can go with Cohen as well as he hits the ball, with Hank as well as he hits the ball. But Gavin gets that whole thing going. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say for sure.
Gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming out and talking with us. We got a bit of a log jam kind of happening now as people are starting to arrive for the show, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time. That is Rocky Rondinelli, coach of the Rock Springs Stallions, and, of course, Evanston's own Nick Small. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the time. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, man. Let's just go have some fun.
Yep, let's go play ball. Thank you.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks,
We're gonna
guys.
have thank you. We're gonna have another great interview when we come back after this. It's the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament Preview Show live on mylocalradio.com.
I buckle up because there's been too many fatalities around our house where somebody would have survived if they'd been wearing their seatbelt.
I definitely wear my seatbelt to keep him safe.
I wear it just for safety.
I buckle up because my mom makes me.
I buckle up to set a good example for my kids and to make sure they stay safe.
Getting home safe to my family.
I buckle up because it keeps me safe.
Go Pokes, buckle up!
Buckle up for life, Wyoming.
Welcome back to the 2022 307 Baseball State Tournament Preview. Right now we're focusing on AA when we have David Settle from Wyo Preps in about 20-ish minutes. We'll definitely talk about that single A tournament happening, Cody, at the same time. Right now, myself, Chris Brentel, we have Dennis Bedwell. He'll be on a little bit later on. We are joined by the home manager. That would be Ben Phillips of the Sheridan Troopers. Coach Phillips, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Great. We're super happy to be here in Sheridan. It's a beautiful place. Okay, so I came here for a basketball game back in December of 2020, and it was snowing. I came in, did the game, got out. Didn't really get a chance to see it. It was when I was here this summer during the conference games that I got to driving around. I'm like, I'm excited to spend a week here. This place is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, that's why I live here. It's great.
Hey, you know what? This is Ben Phillips here. He knows pitching, okay? And your squad is a veteran squad. I think a lot of people feel that you guys are the biggest threat to Cheyenne because of your pitching depth. And because you do have a good lineup as well, and because you're a veteran squad. What has it been like this year to see your team grow? Because a lot of these guys, they're 2, they're 3, some even 4-year starters. To watch these guys grow to what they're in today, because you guys have had a tremendous season.
Yeah, I'm real proud of the way that we've come along, and we ended up 40-12 this year. And anytime you get a 40-win season, that's our kind of our goal is to reach that number and expand beyond that. But it's a good group. I mean, I've really enjoyed coaching this group of kids. They're easy to be around. There's no attitudes. I mean, they're easygoing, and they work hard. I mean, no matter what I ask them to do, they do it, and they go all out. So I have nothing but compliments for them.
Going into the season, Brendan Morton, I was told, was not the number 1 guy, but coming out of it, you got to say he is. I mean, he's tied for the lead in the state in conference-only games with 37 strikeouts. You got a sub-2 ERA. What is it about that young man who just seems to perform whenever he gets out there? I think only 1 loss in the conference season.
Yeah, he kind of flew under the radar last year. He in May he's pitching. We had an early April game or something, and he kind of strained his elbow a little bit, so he didn't hardly pitch at all last year. He was supposed to be one of our top guys last year, and he just didn't get the opportunities because of his injury. And so he worked hard when we started throwing bullpens in February, and he locates pitches. He's normally he's had a couple outings where he's walked some, but that's normal for this age. But he throws 3 different pitches for strikes, and he's going to challenge guys. He's got decent velocity, and he really throws on a downward plane. I mean, the ball's really coming down when he throws. So he's had a great season for us. I mean, I think he's 10-2 with a 1.76 ERA right now. So, he would have done this last year. I have no doubts about it if he would have been able to pitch.
Now, I think you have a tough round 1 matchup, and here's why I say that. We're going to be honest on the show, right? We're going to be honest here. Look, Casper, just to be honest with you, as far as talent at the plate, they kind of underperformed this season. But that's what makes them dangerous going in the postseason, because they have a lineup that can hit the baseball. And so that kind of puts you in a bit of a tough bind round 1. You're facing a Casper team that could, and they seem primed and ready to maybe get an upset. What is the message to your guys going into that?
We take every team the same. I mean, we've played them 4 times this year, and we've had 3 good victories against them. The loss we had was we had 1 bad inning. I mean, that was it. It's going to be about being consistent and just making the routine plays, 2 out hits, all those things that go into a baseball game. I mean, look at against Gillette last week. We have game 1. We lose on a pretty much swinging bunt. And if that ball's hit a little bit harder, we win that game. Those are the things you can't control, and those are the kind of the breaks that you kind of have to have in the state tournament. You can't have if the swinging bunts, the bloopers, all that stuff. You kind of need them to go your way sometimes, and so. But it's consistently. Don't walk hitters. You let your defense make plays, and try to barrel up the ball every time.
And what's interesting, I love the question you asked to Aaron about when looking ahead pitching wise, and he says, "Hey, you kind of have to at a state tournament. You have to look ahead to who you might face." What are your thoughts on that kind of? Because, like I said, it's a tough matchup, Casper, round 1, and then you have another tough matchup, round 2, when if you get by Casper, which I think is a good I'd pick Sheridan to win the game. I'll just say it. I don't care. Whatever. Yeah, I'd pick Sheridan to win it, even if I was betting money, although you can't bet on Legion Baseball. I tried to bet on Legion Baseball, and apparently I can't, just to let everybody know. But anyway. I may have a gambling problem, Ben.
No, that's all right. It's okay. Hey, everybody has a vice, so.
Well, I've taken the show downhill. Anyway, back to you.
I know putting on a state tournament, it's a lot of work for you, for your board, for everybody involved. But one of the big rewards is that you guys get that 7 o'clock under the lights, the whole town coming out on Monday night. How excited are you, and how excited are your boys to get that environment here in Sheridan in such a big game?
I mean, we're extremely excited. I mean, we've had the 10 in the morning game 5 of the last 6 years. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. We practice at 10 in the morning in the summer because we expect to get the 10 a.m. game. And so I don't want our guys at state tournament when we get the 10 a.m. game to be tired. And so to actually not have the early morning game which is a rarity for us. I'm just excited for the opportunity for these guys to get to perform in front of their home fans and expect a good crowd and just go out there and enjoy the moment. This is going to be a lot of last, if we don't win state, this will be one of the last times they play on this field. And so I want to go out and just enjoy and have a blast.
Coach, last year you guys played Casper, and I believe it was a day 3 matchup, I think. And that one was a legendary game. They scored big. You guys responded right back, and it was just this back and forth battle. What are you guys taking from that game into this matchup tomorrow night?
Well, we had some costly mistakes in that game last year that led to some big innings. We had a couple errors. And so just playing clean baseball, I mean, you're going to make errors. That's the reality of the situation. But you can't give up an inning where you're giving up 4 or 5 runs an inning. You got to limit the damage. Keep it to 1 and 2. Pitchers got to make pitches. I thought towards the end of the year last year, some of our pitchers were tired. Our velocity wasn't where it needed to be, and we've really managed our pitching a lot better this year. We're a little bit older, a little bit stronger. So everybody's healthy. Even last week versus Gillette, we had some kids who couldn't throw. Just because they're having, we'd just gone on 2 weeks straight of tournaments and their arms are tired, and so I had to throw some guys in there I normally wouldn't have. But what I'm really excited about is I've got all my guys are healthy right now and they're ready to go. And as long as, like I said, as long as we don't walk guys and we make teams hit the ball to beat us, I think that we'll be in every game.
That is Coach Ben Phillips of the Sheridan Troopers home team here. They'll be in action at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. You can catch the pregame show at 6:30 on mylocalradio.com when they take on Casper. It's going to be a great game. You don't want to miss it. Coach, thank you so much for coming out. We may have to have you come out for our recap shows. I got a feeling you guys are going to have a great week here at home.
Well, I hope so. I'm hoping we do. You never know.
It is the sport that is played on the field.
And I am taking the over on runs in that game, Sheridan.
Yeah. We'll be right back with State Chairman Jack Sims after this on the 307 Baseball 2022 State Preview Show live on mylocalradio.com, brought to you by Buckle Up for Life Wyoming.
The car just started to spin. I could feel the top of the truck hit my head. I could feel the seatbelt hold me in place, and I knew it was doing its job. And I was so thankful for those seatbelts because they held us in. We did not go through that windshield. We did not go out that door. When it spun and flipped, we remained in that vehicle. The most glorious moment of my life ever was to open my eyes and see her face.
I like to believe the seatbelt is what saved my mom and I's life, and I just don't understand why somebody wouldn't just take the 3 seconds to just make that small decision to click it. Ever since I came home from the hospital, they put me in a seatbelt, and even now as a new driver, I still remember always to put my seatbelt on.
It's such a simple action that you can do that can completely change the course of your life forever. We are the Braley family, and we're alive because we buckled up.
Buckle up for Life Wyoming.
Welcome back to the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament Preview Show. We're going to have David Settle on a little bit later, as well as Coach Jason Huggins has told us he'll stop by, as well as ending the show with Wyo predicts Charles Lulleton. But now we've got the State Commissioner Jack Sims. Commish, how you doing today?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Pretty beautiful day in Sheridan, I might say. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Driving up here was a little tough. There was a big rainstorm in Buffalo.
Oh, really?
A couple inches of water on the road. It was nasty. But, yeah, I think Sheridan's got a great feel. They've got a gorgeous ballpark, great facility. Really happy to be up here. Really happy with the bunch of teams that we've got that are playing here. We've got a great set of coaches up and down throughout the entire system, head coaches that are here this week. and I'm really looking forward to sitting in the stands and watching baseball.
Oh, I feel like I've got a season ticket to like the MLB postseason. It's going to be so much fun this week.
So competitive.
You can ask Dennis. I'm sure we'll talk about it later on. I've been just salivating over these matchups in this tournament, and I got to ask you. We've been talking with a few of the coaches, and they would seem to say that they feel like baseball as a whole in Wyoming is on the up, and this year was probably one of the best seasons yet. How would you evaluate this season?
We had a really great year. We had more teams playing Legion baseball this year than forever. I think we were at like 51 or 52. We've got teams that like Lander that I let them play unaffiliated this year. They're going to be a C team next year. Saratoga came in this year with a C team. I think we had 20 C teams in the state, which was just huge, huge. Programs like Sheridan now are back to a AA, B, and C. I think Gillette next year will be in that same boat. Casper fielded 6 teams this year. Cheyenne had their 4. Laramie's program's coming up. The 2 guys you had up here, the bearded wonder and his buddy Nick, they're
okay. That's going on the broadcast tomorrow night.
Southwest Wyoming is struggling a little bit. Nick and I were just talking, and he is going to build a program down there. I have no doubt in my mind. And they're rebuilding a field down there, and I think in 24 we will be hosting a state tournament in Evanston, either a single A or a double A, depending on how the ADMs work out and how we reclass a few teams. Riverton is coming on. Kevin Loftus has really done a great job over in Riverton with those kids, and they're coming on real strong. And then you got the standbys. You got Nate and Ty and Ben. These guys that have just been doing it for year after year after year, and you can see the results of that because they're like magnets. They're just pulling kids in, and that's great. We love to see it.
You talk about how the numbers are going up, and you mentioned how programs are starting to come up. The winner of this tournament is going to join Gillette. Unless Gillette wins it, then it'll be the second place tournament at the regional. How do you feel about Wyoming's chances of getting a team into that American Legion World Series?
Wyoming has never had a team in the American Legion World Series, and it's so hard for us to compete as a state because of the way we're spread out. A lot of these teams that are there annually are pulling from high school populations that are like 5 high schools within a town. They can pull up to 7,500 population. Well, if you give me 7,500, I'm going to find 18 kids that can play ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's no doubt. We're really hamstrung by that because I was looking at the stuff the other day, and if we were to go to 7,500, I think I could take Sheridan, Cheyenne, Laramie, and maybe Gillette, one of the high schools in Gillette, and say, okay, let's form a team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at that, how good would we be?
Wow.
Yeah.
You put all those guys
That's
on
crazy.
a team, that would be nuts.
It would be nuts. And if you look at our all-state picks this year, which, by the way, are done, I'll explain that one to you in a minute. If we were to field those 18 kids, I don't think we would lose the game going from today forward.
Oh, man.
It is just unbelievable. We've got 6 kids that are throwing the ball 85 plus. A couple that are in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a set of infielders and hitters and outfielders that are phenomenal ball players, just phenomenal ball players. And it would really be fun if I could ever figure out how to do it. It would really be fun to put those guys together as a team and let them go play.
It'd be awesome if you could just pick a Wyoming All-Star team and send them to the American Legion World Series. I think you're right. I think they could go and win the whole thing. You look at some of the big names in the state: Coulter McAnally, Zach Kostopoulos, Brandon Chavez, just in that Laramie County alone.
Yeah.
And then you bring in the Jason Finks, the Riley Schillings, the Mason Drubes. That is a team that could really do some damage.
Well, and you've got kids from around also. In Casper's got 3 or 4 kids that could fit in there really, really well. Sheridan's got 3 or 4 kids that could fit in there really, really well. Jackson has got that Costiel kid that would just be a perfect fit into that group.
Hank Allred from Evanston,
Allred
Huddy
from
G
Evanston.
from Rock Springs. A lot of great talent in the state.
There's a lot of talent in the state, but unfortunately, because of the way the state is put together, we're so far apart that it's impossible by the recruiting rules of Legion. It's impossible to put us together. I really wish. Who knows?
Who knows what may happen?
Yeah.
We'll just like he might read me a story later with that voice, and I hope he does. It's very soothing.
Coach,
put me right to bed.
So you're saying, Coach, Jack. We've talked a lot about the AA because that's what we're covering, and that's what we got the coaches here. We got David Sell from Wyo Preps on deck. No, that is definitely pun intended. We've got David Settle ready to go from Wyo Preps, locked and loaded. Talk to us a little bit about single A as well as AA. You look at that single A tournament, though. It's in Cody. Cody has done what they do. Powell, though, did get 2 big victories over Cody in the single A. What kind of week do you think we're expecting over there in Cody?
Calm.
I'm
really going to go with calm.
Okay. I don't know if we'll get David Settle. He is absolutely cracking up back there.
It never fails at some place during one of our state tournaments we have a little bit of action going on somewhere.
Okay.
Something's happening. I don't foresee. We had a great C tournament in Cheyenne.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the matchups in Cheyenne were unbelievable baseball. I watched a 5-3 to 1 double play, 5-2 to 3 double play.
Wow,
unbelievable.
Jeez.
No, wait. Anyway, I watched backhands.
We get what you mean.
I watched forehands. I watched great base running.
Yep.
Really, really clutch hitting.
Yep.
I wasn't able to stay at the B as long as I wanted to, but from what I'm hearing, there was some great games up there.
Mm-hmm.
Gillette won the C.
Mm-hmm.
Gillette won the B today. 7-6 over Sheridan, I think.
So both one-run championship games.
Yes.
Wow. That is clutch play right there.
Well,
Gillette
the championship in Cheyenne was a walk-off walk.
Mm-hmm.
Bases loaded, 2-out, walk-off walk.
Could that be a foreshadowing?
Maybe.
That would be a bucket of tears. But so I think we're going to have a great tournament in Cody. Mark Aramosby is representing the state over there. Mark is our UIC.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a good umpiring crew over there. We've got a really great umpiring crew here. I'm just looking forward to some great baseball.
I think we're going to get it. That is Jack Sims. Yeah, absolutely. Chairman for Wyoming American Legion Baseball. Jack, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great conversation. We'd love to catch up with you at the end of the tournament, get your thoughts on how things went in our post-game show after the state championship game. So just kind of book that in the mind if you could. But we really appreciate you coming on. And anything else before we wrap it up?
No. I'm good.
You're good. We are good here. We'll be right back with Wyo Preps' David Settle, and you're ready to get educated. David Settle will do it for you. We'll have him after this on the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament live on mylocalradio.com.
From one corner of the state to the other, over 82% of Wyomingites wear their seatbelts. And to the 18% who don't, we say, let's buckle up for life, Wyoming.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Didn't know we were on there. Anyway, we are back live. It's the preview show, 2022 State Championship. David Settle joining us here momentarily. I've got his chair right here. I've got his headset for David Settle. He's going to give us a bunch of knowledge on the single A tournament. Is that correct? Yeah, both of the tournaments. Well, we'll talk with David about the double A when he first gets in here. David Settle, the legend. You're going to sit right here, my friend. Hopefully he's on the camera. There he is.
Oh, there he is.
He's on there.
Hey, everybody.
David, this is going to be a very competitive state tournament. In fact, this is my 9th year. I would say it's probably the most competitive state tournament I've ever called. I would say. Here's why I think that. Why wouldn't Jackson upset Laramie? Why wouldn't Casper upset Sheridan? Like, you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of these games to where there could be some upsets happening. And I did upset the fans of Casper earlier because I did pick Sheridan. But that's okay. David, what are your overall thoughts of this AA state tournament with a bunch of teams in it that really have the potential and the players to get hot?
Well, I think you're right, Chris. I agree wholeheartedly with your statement. I think this is top to bottom almost the best. I think if you had a little bit more out of Rock Springs, a little bit more out of Evanston, maybe take the last 2 or 3 years of their teams, combine that, and that might give you the deepest 8 that we've seen at a state tournament in a long time. This will be my 22nd state tournament at the double A or single A level, because Laramie was single A for a little bit in there for different reasons. But Cheyenne's still the favorite. I think they're still the prohibitive favorite. Every coach that I talked to at the AA level, all but Ben Phillips of Sheridan, unfortunately, didn't get a chance to connect with him. Everybody talked about Cheyenne's the team to beat, but almost everybody, including the guy you work with a lot, and Nate Purleyberg, I talked to him yesterday. Finally, he said, I think it's as deep as I've seen it in, this is his 16th year, I believe, 17th year, somewhere in there. And so I agree, because I think if you get a team that's hot at the right time, it's huge. Now, to me, it all comes down to pitching. I think Cheyenne, Gillette, probably the 2 deepest pitching staffs. I would put Sheridan kind of right there near that. Laramie's issue has been one of those, I think, where they can ride Brandon Chavez a little bit, but they need a couple other guys to step up with big performances. And when they haven't had the big pitching performance, the offense has come through. But when they haven't had the offense, the pitching has seemed to be there. So it's kept them in some games, which maybe equates to a little bit of an up-and-down season, but they played a tougher schedule than they've played in several seasons, Laramie. And then I still think Casper, and I do agree with you, I think Jackson, I think both can make a run this week. They've got the capability. They've shown it at times. It's just a matter of putting it all together in the right week, and that's what everybody's shooting for this week.
Laramie, man, they're scary in my eyes, and here's why. They have a 1-2 punch on the hill, and then the lineup is getting hot at the right time. The lineup this year, they've had their moments where they've sputtered, but they've had their hot moments. They're getting hot right now. That's what scares me about this Laramie team.
Well, and that's not necessarily surprising. Last year, Laramie limped into the state tournament. We were struggling coming off of conference games at the end of the regular season where we didn't play very well, got whooped up on here in Sheridan, and then the next day in Gillette, and we went to the Gabe Pando and didn't perform well. This year, they've won 8 of their last 11 coming into the state tournament, and one of those losses was they were trying to save pitching in the Gabe Pando, so they ended up kind of giving up a late lead, and then they lost to Cheyenne in the championship by 1 run and almost had them beat for the second time in the same weekend. That's one of the things that, I'm a homer because I'm the Laramie Rangers broadcast guy, but they're the only team in the last 2 years to beat Cheyenne in this state.
That's a great point.
And I think, and what's interesting about that, guys, to me is it used to be Laramie had that competitiveness with Gillette, and Cheyenne was just a given that they were going to beat Laramie. Now it seems like Laramie's not afraid of Cheyenne, but they have issues with Gillette, which we could see each other in on day 2. But they've got to find a way to meld that hot lineup, which is really hot right now, with some quality pitching. And don't get me wrong, they've had great pitching, but there's been a few times where they've had the great pitching and the offense hasn't come through. So you leave a lot of runners on base. You don't get those clutch hits in the situations which this game comes down to. And this week, to me, is all about pitching. If you want to make a run, you have to line up and get the pitching performances. And you're going to have to get lucky. Laramie got lucky last year on day 1, night 1 of the state tournament with an error that they came through. They had Jackson beat, then gave it up, and then lucked into some into some great plays in the bottom of the 7th inning, and they won that game and then ended up finishing second. Where I didn't think they really challenged Cheyenne last year. This is a group that now that they've beaten Cheyenne not once but twice this season, they feel like they can go toe to toe with that team. So it's all about the matchups to me on the mound, and to me, it's what's going through the minds of these coaches, who we're going to see tomorrow, versus who do you save for day 2, who do you save for day 3. That's what is so intriguing to me, because one wrong call, and you might be having to have a big uphill climb right now because of how deep this tournament is, Chris. I totally agree with you on that.
And luck is overlooked.
Yeah.
I mean, luck is it really is. There's a lot of champions in every sport. Something goes their way, some's lucky. I mean,
the wrong bounce, the right bounce, the guy that's hitting $150 right now comes through with some huge base hit.
He's going to go 6 for 7 the first 2 days. And it's like, I found a woman that could take my presents for 3 minutes. And so I married her. And so luck goes a long way in life.
Dave, I got two questions. We're having a blast here in Sheridan. And
Chris, I'm right there with you, man.
This is just
I don't know how my wife
guys.
puts up with me. Trust me, I left my wife today, and I went, thanks for yesterday, honey. And then that was about it.
I got 2 questions for you, David.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 1, going back to Laramie beating Cheyenne, they're the only ones to do it in the last 2 years, and they've done it in conference games.
Mm-hmm.
How big is that compared to other teams that have maybe played well against them in a tournament game or a non-conference 9-inning type situation? But when you get them in a conference game, in a game that matters, and you guys are able to come out on top, does that make a difference at all?
I think it does, just from a mindset standpoint. It gives Laramie that confidence. Hey, we beat these guys. We can play with them. We can go to toe-to-toe. Yeah, they know about McAnally, Kostopoulos, all these guys down the lineup, Lopez, Swain, Tafoya, all the guys that Ty Lane has at his disposal. This is the most veteran team we've seen Cheyenne have in a long time.
Yeah.
But Laramie's not afraid of that. They don't have. Laramie has a veteran squad. I mean, think about the 14 guys we played at state with last year. We lost 2 guys. So, I mean, this is a veteran team that understands. Now, the 2 guys we lost were huge, and that's what I think has played a role in why they've been a little more inconsistent this year than maybe they were last year. But they've got that belief, and I think that belief when you step on the field and go, yeah, we can play with this team, I think that's huge.
And then the other question I had was, me and Brentel have talked about it off the air, and we both feel Cheyenne is better this year than they were last year. The difference is there's more guys that can go and take care of them around the state this year. What's your thoughts on that kind of?
Well, I think some of that is Cheyenne is better this year because they're deeper and those guys learned from their mistakes last year. The thing is they got to the regional last year and the offense evaporated. They were a great hitting ball club in the regular season. They threw it well, but that offense just it did not travel from Cheyenne to Gillette. Let's just put it that way. And that hurt them. I think they've got the ability to overcome that this year because 1 through 9, I think they've got different guys. And they got different pieces, too. Plus, I think they're a little deeper, actually, pitching-wise this year. The hot kid that moved in from Scottsbluff, Nebraska. You bring in a Corey Williams who's pitched well in a couple of occasions against the Rangers this year. He adds some things. And then you've got the stalwarts there. But I still think Gillette can beat him. I know Casper feels they can beat him, talking with Kalen Hill and seeing his ball club play. Jason Huggins.
Yeah.
They came close in the first game of a tournament in early July going toe-to-toe with that team. So they're right there. And I know Sheridan's right there. Heck, the games weren't that bad up here in Sheridan. I think the second one got away from Sheridan, but the first one was pretty close. So there's a lot of teams, I think, that, again, if you get a couple breaks to go your way, you just never know what happens in a tournament like this.
Let's go ahead and transition to the single A. We've talked a lot about the AA, and I've got the single A bracket on the screen. I'm going to go through these matchups, and I want you to kind of give me a little bit of impressions. I know, right? Here we go. Starting at 10 a.m., Powell versus the Cheyenne Hawks.
Well, we've had some controversy at single A state the last couple of years, so that's why I think Jack Sims, the state Legion commissioner, said,
just please.
Let's go calm here. Let's go calm. Especially nothing like what happened 2 years ago. So 10 a.m. matchup. My bad. 10 a.m. matchup is
Powell Cheyenne.
Ooh, that's a great one right out the box.
I know, right?
I expect Powell and Jason Borders to throw Brock Johnson, the single A West pitcher of the year. You've got to go with him. And that's still a young Powell team. That's what's incredible about that, too. He was telling me how many guys are just coming off their sophomore year and be juniors this fall. So that's a young group that's gained experience, getting beat up on the last couple years, and they've just elevated their play this year. But Cheyenne, the Hawks are so good. I'm impressed with Brad Barker as a manager. The run that they had last year with an inexperienced group, they were really young last year. They lost Reisdorfer and Williams to the AA squad and Xander Jarash. But they've got a nucleus right now Pryor, the pitcher of the year. I think that's going to be a great pitching matchup right there. Johnson and Pryor, your 2 pitchers of the year in the conferences, I think should go toe-to-toe. You can't afford to lose that first game in single-A state.
No.
Even more so than double-A state, in my opinion, because I don't think your pitching staffs are as deep at the single-A level. I think everybody in single-A's got 1 or 2 guys. Then it could be just offensive shootouts after that.
Jeez. It could be.
So I'm going to take...
You don't have to take anyone.
No, take somebody.
I'm ballsy.
I'm like the angel on the shoulder. You're like the devil on the shoulder.
I know. Right. We're making picks tonight, my friend.
I'm gonna upset the Cheyenne crew, even though I believe in them a lot. I'm gonna take Powell on a little minor upset. I think seed-wise it's not, but to me it looks like a little bit of a minor upset.
Okay.
I'll take Pal too. I got $20.
I mean, Pal did take care of
I got
Cody
no
in
money. I work in radio. I don't know what radio
know,
you're
right?
working in.
All right, let's go ahead and move it on to that 1 o'clock matchup, Sheridan versus Lovell. Now, those are 2 teams that both kind of had breakout seasons this year.
Yeah.
Sheridan, the Troopers the Jets, looked really, really good at times. Lovell turned it on at the end, getting that number 3 seed in the West. Your thoughts on that one?
Well, Lovell did play better baseball, and Mike Jamison's squad is an interesting mix. They've got a few seniors, but they've got some younger guys. They're an interesting dynamic where it's kind of a good mix of veterans and youth, but I think they have found a more consistent level this year. They've played the Jets tough, and I don't have the stats right in front of me, but I want to say the Jets have a better head-to-head record against Lovell in the season. I want to say they played 5 or 6 times because of a tournament or something. I give the Jets a little bit of an edge in that one. I just the way they are not playing as good a baseball, I think, as the Jets want. I expect Austin Cowan to really do a job and get his team ready to go tomorrow against Lovell. And that's a former Gillette guy. We'll just bring it all back to Chris right here.
Blaming it on Chris. I love it.
Well, I mean, they have won B and C in the last week. So
well, they can't win A. We'll just say that.
This is true. There's no Gillette team in the A bracket.
Moving on to the 4 o'clock game, Casper versus Green River. I mean,
this
Smith
is to me
Casper.
the most lopsided first-round matchup. Drillers win this in a blowout. Saxton Smith is the real deal.
Yes.
He unbelievable player, and they've got a couple other guys that we don't really that kind of get overshadowed, so to speak. But I fully believe Casper dominates that game. I was shocked by the outcome of the A East District Championship between Casper and Sheridan. They had played pretty close games all season. For Casper to put up 22 runs in a title game of a district tournament in 1 inning. They hit 3 home runs in the inning.
Jeez.
I don't know if Sheridan was just saying the heck with it or what, but that was just – Casper's on a roll. Green River has the capability. You've seen them more than I have, Elan. They've got the capability if they get that one good pitching performance. I would assume Jax Peterson.
That's what I would guess. Jax Peterson. You may see Ashton Eldridge.
They might have to combine those two to really slow down the Casper offense. But what you got to do is you got to keep Saxton Smith off the bases.
Well, and then Jax Peterson, who I think has hit 8 home runs or something like that this year, he's going to have to really provide at the plate. I mean,
you could double that for Saxton Smith, by the way.
I know you can. I compiled the mid-season stats that we had just for him was off the charts.
Yeah, Tanner Galey and Kalen Hill have kind of shared that coaching battle, but Tanner's probably he's going to be the guy with that team this week while Kalen's here with the Double-A. They have done a nice job, and that's a program to watch.
Yeah.
Casper and Gillette both have a lot of young talent coming into their programs the next couple of years.
Speaking of Coach Hill, he actually was not able to join us tonight. They're still in Casper. They're coming up tomorrow morning. Hopefully we get to catch up with him.
Well, they don't play till 7 o'clock,
right?
so why
bother?
Why burn it, man?
Hopefully we get a chance to catch up with him during one of our recap
who's
shows.
doing the pregame show? Elan, we'll come up tomorrow.
We'll come tomorrow. Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, we're going to have, just a reminder, we're going to have nightly recap shows live here from the Comfort Inn on tomorrow night after the last game. We got Tuesday night and then Wednesday night before the semifinal game. So a lot of stuff we are going to have to talk about.
Cody and Torrington's the last game on day 1. I like the Cubs because they're home. And
they're Cody.
Yeah. They're not as dominant this year as they've been the last couple of years. So that's why I think you have a deeper single-A pool this year going into state. Top to bottom, there's not a lot of separation between those 8 teams this year in single A. I mean, Cody the last couple of years to me has been the overwhelming favorites.
Yeah.
And I mean overwhelming. Not this year. Cody could get beat, but they're on their home field. These kids know how to play at this time of year. Bart Grins is a great manager, and his coaching staff and the kids understand the expectations. They will vie for the title this week.
All right, so this is tough, but is it going to be Casper or Cody? That's the big question I think everybody has in that state championship
I think
game.
it will be. I think it comes down to those two programs. Now, I think if I had to pick an outsider looking at it right now, I might say Powell, just because of the way they played towards the end of the season here. And I know they lost a tough district title game to Cody, but it didn't really matter. They were in state tournament, and at that point, as long as you're opposite of Cody, I think you're good if you're Powell.
Well, I mean, your Powell's going to play. If they win, they will play the winner of Casper. They'll play the winner of Casper Green River. So that is definitely, man, those semifinal matchups could be Sheridan, Cody, Lovell, Cody, Casper. Casper, Powell, Cheyenne, Casper, Cheyenne, Green River.
I wouldn't overlook Torrington.
No, I was going to say Torrington is also right there.
You know, what you got is 2 former players who know how to play at a high level, and Sam Furmanek and Jackson Jones coaching that team, and they've done a nice job, even though they've had a smaller sample size than anybody else in the state.
All right, let's go ahead and break down these first day matchups for the AA, and this one is there's a lot of fun, ones, and
Wait, are we picking these now?
No, we're not. I'm not picking.
Oh,
are
you picking?
I'll handicap them.
Okay, there you go. This is a tournament that really is it's nuts to think about. Really,
it really is.
It starts at 10 a.m. Number 1 Cheyenne. Number 8, Evanston. Evanston, probably one of the youngest, most inexperienced clubs at the AA level in
them
the
in
state.
Rock Springs.
Them in Rock, yeah. And now they've got a tough first round victory.
Sorry, Elan.
I know, but I gotta ask the question.
I'm going Evanston.
I gotta ask the question.
Yeah, right. You are.
I gotta ask the question. What is Evanston? I mean, obviously they need to play their perfect game in order to do it.
Do.
They did play very well for 5 innings against them in a conference game at the beginning of the season when Wyatt Hott was on the mound. They're probably not going to see Coulter McAnally because with how deep that pitching staff is, you're probably getting a Corey Williams, a Wyatt Hott, someone maybe even a Swain. He might be.
No, I bet you they throw. I bet you they throw
Hastings.
Bailey Applegarth.
There you go. Yeah, Bailey.
I bet you they throw Bailey Applegarth. I would say Bailey Applegarth or Corey Williams. You could see a Ben Bowman. Here's the thing. Everybody looks at that and goes, hey, Cheyenne's going to win this one hands down no matter what. Ty Lane, he knows he's a good coach. He understands. Everybody's gunning for us this week, guys. Everybody's talking about how deep AA is this year. Everybody's talking about how we might be vulnerable to get upset. His team will be focused and ready to go. They're going to make a statement with that game tomorrow, I think.
It could, yeah, especially when you look at what happened last year. If you remember the first 2 days, they didn't score runs until late in the game against Rock Springs. Late in the game against who they play in the second day? It wasn't Gillette. It was
Sheridan.
Yeah, it was Sheridan.
Settle has Cheyenne. I have Evanston. I was writing them down here. Settle's got Cheyenne. I got Evanston.
All right.
I am taking Cheyenne. Ty Lane's squad will be focused, ready to go.
I'm changing my pick.
All right, moving on to the next matchup at 1 o'clock. I love that we have 3 hours in between games to kind of get ready.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Get
just because I said
prepared.
that, Evanston and Cheyenne's going to go into extra innings just because I said that.
Yeah, they will. They'll go 20 tomorrow.
1 o'clock, Laramie versus Jackson. Rematch of the first round for both of those teams last year.
Dude, we played Jackson all the time.
I was about to say.
It's every stinking year we're playing Jackson in the first round. It doesn't matter if we went west, east, or we go 1 through 8. We're playing Jackson. I was here at a state tournament twice, and we played Jackson in the opening round. So we played Jackson last year. It seems everywhere we go, we played Jackson in the first round. We played Jackson in the first round in Gillette in 2019. So it's not a surprise. Here's the thing. It comes down to who do these coaches decide to go with.
Yeah.
They just played last Tuesday in Laramie. Laramie kind of made a little bit of a statement. Jackson was trying to win those and maybe have a shot to try and take one out and maybe move up to the 5 spot. It didn't work out. It's a dangerous thing. Laramie's 4-0 against Jackson, and you just, as last year proved, just play good baseball. Don't beat yourself for 6 innings. You're right there. Jackson was down a couple runs early in the game. Laramie couldn't get much going offensively, but they had an early lead last year. And then Jackson took the lead late, and Laramie had to rally. Rangers know they need to get off to a good start. The thing for Laramie is I like better is they're hitting the ball right now versus last year. They did not hit. They did not hit the ball well coming into state last year. When I said earlier they limped into state, that's what it was.
Oh, it was.
That's your word.
But now 1 through 9, they are going pretty well.
I was going to ask, how long has it been since you've seen a Laramie team this hot going into the state tournament?
Oh boy. Probably back in our single A title in 2013.
Okay.
No joke.
It's been a minute.
It's been a decade.
I'm going Laramie. Too hot offensively.
Jackson, I'm curious to see who Jason Huggins throws because he might throw somebody that keeps Laramie off balance, and that's going to be big.
Let's go ahead and transition to the number 4 matchup. Number 2, Gillette versus number 7, Rock Springs.
I get the phone that just dropped.
This looks awkward, Settle. Okay, there we go.
It's okay. We have the bracket on anyway.
What is this, TV 14? What is this, PG? Anyway,
so Rock Springs, Gillette. I like Coach Ron Donnelly. He's one of the biggest characters, nicest guys in the
I
state.
don't like him.
Awesome.
I don't like him at all. Raiders fan. I'm a Raider hater. Go Chiefs. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna let Dennis have at you in a little bit.
I'm gonna go off the radar here and not gonna talk about football. Gillette wins this one big, in my opinion. Although I will say Rocky has been more encouraged about his team in the last month, fighting a little bit harder.
They have.
That's the big thing is they stay with it. They don't quite get down when they make some mistakes. I just think, Chris, we saw this matchup. What was it in 2019? Was it first round? And Ryan Powers, you guys won in 8 innings, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was just. That's the type of thing. But I like Nate's ball club just because they don't know any better. They're young enough. They don't know any better. You know what? Hey, let's just go play some baseball. I think that kind of relaxed atmosphere helps them out this weekend. And Gillette's going to win big, in my opinion, over Rock Springs.
That's a great point. These young kids don't care about that close game. Yeah, I think Gillette
They move on.
Let's go ahead.
They're playing video games right now in their hotel room.
Yeah, they're so chill right now. Yeah, everybody. That's the one thing I've noticed is every player at this tournament is just like, all right, business time tomorrow, but we're gonna have fun tonight, which is it's always a lot of fun when you're in that environment. And then we've got probably the most anticipated matchup of this first round.
Yeah.
And that is it's
the 7:00 game.
Yeah, it's that 7:00 game. You know Sheridan is going to show up. The town of Sheridan is going to show up. Question is, do the Jets show up, David?
Well, the Troopers will be there. Casper, I think Casper will go toe-to-toe with them.
Yeah.
I really do. I think Sheridan's got a little bit too much this year. I like Benfellow's ball club. I told you that way back in April and May that I've been high on the Troopers throughout the season because I just think how deep they are.
And this season feels like kind of a culmination. They've been building to this for a while. I know last year we both picked them at the beginning of the season to be that team to challenge Cheyenne, and it turned out to be Laramie.
Right.
This year, Sheridan is as good as advertised. I seen them in person. I rewatched the game I did over there. They passed the eye test, and they are a very talented, and the one thing, they fight. They fight all the way to the end.
If they don't beat themselves defensively, which has cost them in a few games, that's the big key right there. If they can play clean defensively or at least limit those errors so it doesn't blow up into a big inning, that's kind of what's cost them a couple times. That's the big thing for me with Sheridan. But I think Ben Phillips' squad playing at home. Sleep in your own bed, be relaxed.
Yeah.
There's
your own ballpark.
There's that fine line of you're at home, or do you put too much pressure on yourself because you're at home trying to impress the home fans?
You just said what I was thinking, Mr. Settle. There's the upset tomorrow night. The Casper Oilers are going to beat Sheridan on their home field.
You just flip-flopped.
I love Ben Phillips, okay? I love him, okay? He's a great guy. I'm just going to say this. You're home. It's going to be a lot of pressure on those kids to play in the house that's rocking. It's going to be a night game that's almost worse for Sheridan. I think Casper goes in and gets the upset. I think it's a very close game, and I think it's a shootout.
What's your email address again so the email goes to you?
The email would be Elan Olliff at
all right.
whereveryouwork.com. My local radio, that's the one.
All right, we're going to go ahead and step aside. When we come back, we'll have one more segment.
Can we cut this and I pick Sheridan next?
We have one more segment with Charles Lulliton of YO Predicts on Twitter. He has put together his bracket. We're going to show it right here on the 307 Baseball 2022 State Tournament broadcast preview show. So You Saying podcast. We'll be right back after this message from our sponsor, Buckle Up for Life Wyoming.
I'm Kendall Roberts with the Wyoming Seatbelt Coalition. Whether your car is a classic car or a new one, buckle up every time. Buckle up for life, Wyoming.
We're working on getting Charles on the phone via Facebook Messenger, so just stand by 1 second with us as we try to work that out. We would love to have David Suttle's reaction to this.
Is this where we have to fill time? Dun, 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 dun.
Charles, can you hear me? Charles, can you hear me? Looks like we're having a little bit of an issue. Let's see if we can work this out a little bit.
Are we live right now?
We are definitely live right now.
Okay. Well, I can start talking. You want me to talk to fill time? No?
Second.
Well,
me and Settle can talk here. Oh, we can talk Chiefs Raiders too. Oh, wait, you don't have a headset.
Oh, hang on. I think
I heard something in the background there.
Oh,
Charles, can you hear us? Charles?
I hear a fan.
I know.
Charles, are you there?
This is eerie.
We're going to have to try this another time. Maybe bring him in during one of our...
Oh, wait. I think you just had him.
Charles, can you hear me?
There
we go. Hey, there we go. Hey, let us know in the chat. We've got... let's see. We have one person in the chat. If they could let us know if they can hear Charles okay. Jim Stiegel watching from Denver, North Carolina. Love American Legion Baseball. We are happy to provide this for you. So, Charles, we've got you on right now, and we have the bracket you put together for us. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Night number 1. Bringing it up right now on the screen. Oh, can you hear me, Charles? Okay.
I got you. Okay.
So I can hear him, but I can't hear us.
Yeah. So it sounds like.
Oh yeah.
So we've got something off where he probably can't hear us.
Yep. Probably.
I wonder if he's. Yeah.
Charles, can you hear me now?
I don't know if Charles can hear us that direction.
No.
But he might be able to hear us.
And there's about a 30-second delay, so.
Oh, boy.
Unfortunately, I think, Charles, we'll have to try to work this out another time. But we appreciate you doing this. We're going to go ahead and talk about the graphic that you put together real quick. And would love to talk with Charles. Maybe we'll get into a phone interview later on where we can kind of talk with him to talk about how he came up with this. So this is what he has. Cheyenne versus Evanston. It will be he has Cheyenne winning that matchup, so he agrees with you there, David Suttle. And then, of course, with the second matchup, Laramie and Jackson. Laramie winning that one, Gillette over Rock Springs, and Sheridan does get the victory over Casper.
So this is where Sheridan gets the pick from Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
So a few minutes ago it was Casper, and it's Sheridan. Then it'll go back to Casper, and then it'll go back to Sheridan. So that's okay.
And plus, I've upset both cities on this broadcast.
Sheridan will be over Rock Springs. It looks like in the second round, according to the bracket he has put together. Jackson over Rock Springs. Apologies.
There we go.
And then Evanston and Casper. Casper according to Wyo Predicts, wins that one. They'll take on Laramie and Sheridan as Gillette and Cheyenne will meet in the kind of winner goes to the state championship game. Cheyenne goes over Gillette. They will face off against Laramie in the semifinals. Sheridan, Gillette in the semifinals. They have Gillette winning the semifinals and Cheyenne playing for the state title with, of course, Post 6 taking the title according to Wyo Predicts. And again,
it's a pretty good one.
That is a pretty
good bracket.
Pretty good bracket there.
It's pretty accurate in my opinion.
And we will have to definitely get Charles Lolliton on another time. Maybe figure out a way how we can get him on the phone instead of Facebook Messenger for the recap show tomorrow night, especially if it does work out the way he's saying. I think the one thing that could be in question is that I keep going back to the game of the day tomorrow. It's going to be that 7 o'clock game, Sheridan and Casper. We saw those two meet up in the state tournament, late in the state tournament. I think it was day 3 or 4, 3 in the state tournament. And Sheridan and Casper went blow for blow. That was that one where you and I were on the call.
That was crazy.
And
was that when Ben Phillips got tossed on the controversial play?
That was Ben Phillips getting tossed, yes.
Okay.
I look at that more as
I missed that game because I was over in Cheyenne at
and it just in 16 runs in one inning by both teams. Well, it was incredible.
And it's going to be incredible, too. And I believe I picked Sheridan Casper to win that one.
So,
I think Sheridan Casper's got a great opportunity to win that game tomorrow.
Apologies to Charles Lolliton. We couldn't get that working. Real quick, want to bring in Dennis Bedwell for his thoughts on you've kind of been sitting here. You're new to mylocalradio.com. You're new to Wyoming high school broadcasting. So your thoughts on what you've heard here today?
Yeah, this is truly an outside perspective because he knows he's a fresh face. Mm-hmm. You're taking this all in.
Oh boy, yeah, pressure's on, right? Yeah, as far as what I've come to know in this short amount of time I've been here in Wyoming, it looks like everyone is just really, really nice to each other, which is really nice to see. Like there's kind of a brotherly love here with all the coaches and the players. So there's definitely competitiveness here, obviously, which is really good as well. But there's a lot of great players that have great stats. I mean, it looks like Cheyenne is definitely showing there on the very top of as far as most of the players. So they got a lot of great stuff going on there. I'm excited for that game tomorrow night. Obviously 7 o'clock underneath the lights. It's going to be a great game. I'll be there with Elan here.
This guy.
Obviously.
You'll be here with this guy.
Somebody.
This dude here that is my right up here. But yeah, so
you might remember his name before the end of the week.
I know. I might not have a ride home to my wife. So I'm not very happy about that. But I'm excited for that game and also for the rest of the week. It's going to be some great baseball. So it'll be a good time.
That's really cool that he's up here because he's like, he can get really acclimated to a Wyoming AA Legion state tournament, and he's picked a good one to get acclimated to because this is going to be really good. I am excited, and it's incredible. Do you want my bracket now? Is that what
you probably have 2 brackets where you've got each team winning a game tomorrow.
Look, here's my thing. Here I'm going to be okay. The Cheyenne Sixers #1 contender is the Cheyenne Sixers. Because the Cheyenne Sixers, they're the favorites, but if they make a bunch of mistakes, they're not going to win state. And I think they're going to make a ton of mistakes late. And I think Gillette is going to make a run. And this is a very young team that's going to put it all together here at the state tournament. And my pick, surprise, surprise, the Gillette Rough Riders. This young ball club is going to start a dynasty here this weekend. Everybody thinks it's going to be the next year. Everybody thinks it could be in 2 years. They start their dynasty here this weekend on in Sheridan where they play their rival.
I just got to throw this lower third up there to remind everybody that Chris is the voice of the Gillette Rough Riders.
What does that matter? Hey, you picking Laramie Saddle?
No, I'm not. From the Laramie Rangers broadcast, yes, I'm picking Laramie. From the YL Preps, no, I'm picking Cheyenne Post 6.
And I think I have to agree, Cheyenne Post 6. And
the good thing here is I think both teams will represent well at their regional tournament.
Yeah,
I really do.
And the other good thing here is I think whoever wins this tournament's going to earn it. Last year there was that kind of feeling in the air that Cheyenne was going to. By the time we got to that state championship game, there was a feeling in the air that this is a done deal. We know who's going to get it. I mean, I'm hearing it from people in the Laramie organization, like, hey, we got here, but Cheyenne is just too strong. This year, it does not feel that way. It feels like if the pitching matchups, you gotta go with Cheyenne post 6.
All right, let's settle. All right, here we go. Your opinions. Your pitcher of the year, your player of the year. Who are you picking?
Ooh.
I'll do that.
Man. Oh, my goodness.
It's a tough one. You're gonna pick this one?
I'll pick this one.
Oh, I love this.
Player of the year, in my humble opinion, I haven't seen all the stats at everybody. I might go Ben Ruckman, Laramie Rangers. He's on fire right now. What is he at 9, 10 home runs here? That's more than McAnally, more than Kostopoulos. Those guys play a ton more games. I think that's the one thing is not everybody's not on an equal scale of games, and I think that has to be thrown into consideration. So that's why I go hometown.
I do love your conference stats.
So
for that
we
reason.
actually put together conference stats just for that reason. And just to kind of give a recap, let's go ahead and run through those because David didn't see those come through.
There we go. That's a good idea.
Let's go ahead and start out with the strikeouts. Jason Fink and Brendan Mortensen top with 37 conference strikeouts.
Not surprising.
Brendan Chavez right there with 36. Yep. And then Coulter McAnally at 34. Trevor Stowe at 30. You've got 5 guys with 30-plus strikeouts.
Okay, that's not surprising. That's not surprising either.
And now let's go ahead and move on to the ERA. Jason Fink with the lowest conference ERA, 0.49. Coulter McAnally, 0.93. Brendan Mortensen, 1.17. Brendan Chavez, 1.87.
See, and that's why Fink was going to be my pitcher of the year.
Yeah.
To me, Fink was the pitcher of the year. I went Ruckman player of the year. But again, from the standpoint of, I think, I hate to say it, but McAnally and Kostopoulos kind of cancel each other out. They're just that good a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Fink put up awesome numbers. I also look at how valuable are you to your team if you take and remove that guy out of the lineup?
How much are they?
How much do you drop?
I love
how
that.
much do you
like
drop?
Like a war type thing.
Basically. Yeah, you can break it down. I want to remove guys from a lineup and say, how much does that hurt and impact your team in a negative way? And I think that's why I go with a little bit of a homer pick. Now, would it surprise me if McAnally wins it? No. Would it surprise me if Fink won it? Because, I mean, Jason's had an awesome year at the plate and on the mound.
Yeah.
He could sweep both. That wouldn't surprise me.
When you look at our top RBI hitters, guess who's at the top? Jason Fink with 22 conference RBIs. Caden Wilcox, though, at 20. Coulter McAnally, 19. The who's who of AA ball on this list. And, again, these are conference-only games.
Well, and Caden has kind of been the heart and soul of that lineup for Casper this year.
Yeah.
I mean, Caden's been consistent.
He's an unsung hero.
Yeah, Caden's been consistent. Grant Nippers played well. I don't think Grant Nippers maybe swung the bat as well as he would have hoped for. I mean,
I had the one that day.
He's played well. Don't get me wrong.
I'll talk more about him later.
Caitlin Hill talked about Eric Whitley as a guy that as he goes, so goes that team.
Absolutely.
A little bit. Whether he's been at the top of the lineup or in the 9 spot, he said.
Most conference home runs, Trayson Castile from Jackson with 3, Coulter McAnally 2, Billy Jenkin and Ben Ruckman with 2 as well.
So Castile has 3.
Yep. So that is how that rolls out. Now, average, minimum 35 at-bats, Coulter McAnally 545, Cohen Morrow of Evanston 525, Billy Jenkin of Laramie with a 586. And once again, Jason Fink tied for 4th, 471. Again, a who's who.
Yep.
It's tough to pick.
Yeah.
That's why I picked Ruckman, but that's the take the guy out of the lineup type of situation. But in what's my gut, Jason Fink wins pitcher of the year. Coulter McAnally wins player of the year.
My pitcher of the year, though, I don't think it's really tough.
No.
Coulter McAnally. That's my pitcher of the year. I mean, the guy, his numbers are just out of this world. He had 17 you know what his strikeouts was after they played Gillette? His strikeouts were 117 to 11. Yeah, that's my pitcher of the year.
Well, he also had that 17 strikeout game against Gillette.
Yeah, I called
just
that
a week
one
ago.
Yeah,
that was nuts. So for me, I'm gonna go. Oh, who's your player of the year? Oh, you put Jason Fink, right?
Jason 92. Okay, 92 ribbies, an ERA of a 0.8 something. He's hitting over 400. Jason Fink is your player of the year.
All right, I'm going player of the year. I think I agree with Jason Fink. I was thinking Coulter McNally coming into this, but looking at the numbers, crushing them all together, the fact that he had the dominant year at the plate and in the mound, and he was known as more of a pitcher than anything, and he just kind of exploded this year.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
my pitcher of the year, I'm going outside. I like Brendan Mortensen out of Sheridan.
Okay.
And I just saw him.
He's had some good outings.
I saw him in person, and it just still.
I would almost think Trevor Stowe's more valuable on the mound than Brendan Mortensen.
Okay.
That's just a personal look at that team because I think Stowe and Greer are maybe your two biggest keys for Sheridan, especially this week.
Yeah. But having Mortensen on that rotation definitely helps them out in this tournament.
That I don't disagree with because I saw him when they played when Sheridan played at Laramie. He pitched really well. Yeah. So I'm not trying to slight any guy because all these guys are very deserving.
Yeah,
and that is true.
So question is, doesn't matter what we think; it's what the coaches voted for.
Exactly.
They're way smarter than us.
Yeah,
we'll find out tomorrow night.
Well, hopefully we have those all-state selections on our recap show tomorrow night. We got one more thing, kind of in line with the best player. Your pitcher of the year, your pitcher of the year, player of the year. What about manager of the year?
Ooh, coach of the year. It's got to be Nate Purleyberg to me. Young team. You guys went 46 games. It's Nate.
I second that.
I haven't thought about it.
I think it's a no-brainer,
enough,
too, right?
I mean, look at
honestly,
how young,
you think about
a ninth grader in center field.
They were picked 4th or 5th pretty much coming into the season.
Yeah.
So for them to earn the 2 seed and to play as well as they have and to make a lot of deep runs in tournaments.
And only lose one conference game. Like they only are 3,
before,
that's right. They
before
lost
Cheyenne,
2.
yeah.
Well, before Cheyenne, yeah.
But it's very impressive what they do. I would second Nate Purleyberg. And then
did you hear that, audience? I'm not too much of a homer. See,
hey, you know what?
Is it that camera?
It's that camera.
See, I'm not too much of a homer.
You know what? Numbers don't lie, and the numbers back up that argument. All right, now here's kind of a bit of a sentimental thing. Best performance you saw in person?
Brandon Chavez win at Cheyenne. In late May.
It's a big one.
I'm gonna go 2
because I'll tell you why I picked that. It wasn't necessarily the domination because he didn't necessarily have his A+ stuff, but he battled through and fought through and still shut down that lineup top to bottom 1 through 9 with a DH.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
That's one of several because
there's so many.
Yeah,
I can't narrow it down between 2.
That's my homer pick, folks. That's my homer pick. Okay, that's my homer.
All right, Prenzel.
This is not a homer pick. I'm gonna go 2 though.
Yep.
Coulter McNally, the 17 strikeout effort. He struck out 7 straight righter hitters, and that's a good lineup to end his start.
Jeez.
But that's my one. If I was to go with a number 2, Corey Schilling on that same night faced Bradley Feaser, and Coulter McNally went 3 for 6 with a triple, double, and single. How many dudes can say they've done that against 2 D1 studs on the same night? So I'll go McNally with his 17 strikeout effort. If you're talking like double header best performance, I'm going that Corey Schilling 3. I don't think there's many dudes that can do that against Feaser McNally.
All right, so
I'll give a shout out to Saxton Smith. The numbers that kid has put up this year for the Casper Drillers. I know it's single A ball, but my goodness,
he'll be up here next year.
What does he have, like 16 dingers or something?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, go through every game, and that kid, he factors in the box score every single day.
Okay, can we all just agree on this? He's your single A player of the year.
Well, yeah. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
a big thank you to David Suttle for joining us. We've got Chris Brentel and, of course, Dennis Bedwell on his maiden voyage. We're going to be hearing a lot more from you in the future. Remind you guys to tune in to every game of the AA state tournament here on mylocalradio.com, as well as tomorrow night's recap show. Hopefully we'll have Charles Lullaton on in a pre-recorded phone interview to kind of cap off this preview segment. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. It's been a blast. You guys have a great night. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning for day 1 of the 2022 AA state tournament. Thank you guys so much.